Now I can say that that picture is somewhat changed, and the middle class has grown. And amongst the poor also, sections of them have improved their standard of living. But of course, everything in India is on a big scale, so even those that remain, it's a very large number. And the worst amongst them are our tribal people, because they were quite cut off from the rest of India. And that is, there were no communications, hardly any roads. So even to help them to catch up is a much more difficult problem than the people who live in the hills also.
But
again, for the same
these
reason.
Also you don't want to destroy their characteristic. You want them to preserve their characteristic.
We want them to keep
their customs, their language.
We couldn't do it if we wanted to, and we are proud and happy about our diversity, because we think that this adds to the interest in life and the richness of our culture. As you know, every state has its own language, its own script, and within the state also there are different regions, cultural groupings. And we also think that this diversity is not a weakening factor, but on the contrary, it's a strengthening factor. Unity in diversity is what the slogan says.
Therefore, I take it that you are not anti different languages as such, though they are the nightmare of the radio and television people, having different.
We have no such problem here, because since each state has its own language, its radio functions largely in that language. But we provide for all the minorities, the minority groups who may be living in that state.
May I probe further? If you had your way, would you impose a particular language, a particular way of life?
No, no. I think that's, I rebelled against it even much earlier with regard to clothes and so on when I was young. No, I think that the greater the diversity, the better it is for people. People are individuals and they shouldn't become statistics. But I do believe that there should be a link.
We were touched, we were very touched. मैं आपसे कुछ अर्ज करूंगा कि हिंदी में हमारे हिंदी जानने भाइयों के बारे में कुछ कह दीजिए, जिस तरह से आपने कहा था.
आप कुछ पूछिए तो.
ये लोग हर एक गांव में अपने भाषा और अपनी संस्कृति को बगैर सरकारी मदद करते आए हैं. उनके आपने तो देखा उन लोगों को. आप क्या समझते हैं कि वो गलत राह पर हैं?
नहीं, गलत रास्ते पे तो नहीं है, क्योंकि दूसरे लोग भी तो यही कर रहे हैं. लेकिन दूसरे लोग समझते हैं कि कुछ बरसों से, क्योंकि उनका राज्य रहा इतने देशों पर, तो अपनी टाइम को ज़रा हम लोगों से ऊंचा समझने लगे अपनी टाइम को. लेकिन हर एक व्यक्ति को अपना रास्ता खुद चुनना चाहिए.
तो हमारे महर्षियों ने कहा. लेकिन आप एक तुलसी जयंती के बारे में मैंने देखा कि मॉरिशस में लोगों जब यहाँ से गए, लोग रामायण बाखुद अपने कलम से लिख के रखा गया. वो हमें some countries have some problem about this school. They insist on the Indian girls wearing skirts and not wearing saris or salwar and kurtas and things like that. It's very much a live question in many countries. I want to move on to another aspect. You see, it's this right to differ which people claim, and its concomitant is the acceptance by those who claim it that the other side also has the right to differ from what they are differing.
I like the word third world, or words rather, although they've come to, because we think there's only one world and we think we should move more and more towards this one world.
Now, since you say you are preoccupied with being pro-India, do you intend to have a kind of uniformity in India? In regards, I'm not referring to its laws, but in regard to its kind of its language, its culture. Turning out so many different sausages, if I may say so, all one. Am I making a mistake?
Yeah, I think you are talking about Elizabeth Gorba.
Yes, that's
She's
right.
She's German, married to an Indian.
Yes.
She taught my children for a very brief while.
Oh, I thought it had. Then you were in Tagore's Shantiniketan. Pourtant, nous étions 1 heure en retard. Mais jusqu'à quand vous continuez sur cette sorte de vous immoler, si je peux dire, au travail, sans un congé, sans...
Mais vous savez, c'est parce que même quand je travaille, pour moi, c'est pas un travail. C'est quelque chose qui est important, c'est quelque chose qui m'intéresse.
Est-ce que vous voulez porter toujours cette couronne d'épines?
Oh non, oh non, non. Mais ce que je voulais dire, que tout ce que je fais toujours avec tout cœur.
I'm going back to English because the 20-point program, how do you condense it?
Oui, j'étais là quand le général de Gaulle était.
Ah bon, c'était le général lui-même.
Mais M. Pompidou était le Premier ministre. Après, je suis allée encore une fois après. Oui.
On a dit de vous que vous avez voulu être une Jeanne d'Arc.
J'admirais Jeanne d'Arc beaucoup. Comme j'admirais tous ceux qui luttaient pour l'indépendance.
C'était toujours contre les Anglais, vous savez. Jeanne d'Arc, c'était contre les Anglais.
Oui, mais moi, j'admirais les autres aussi. Comme Garibaldi et Bolivar et tout.
Il y a une chose qui nous chicane un petit peu. Nous vous voyons toujours au boulot. Vous ne prenez pas de congé?
Presque pas.
Vous savez, les Français aimeraient vous recevoir. Vous savez, c'est un beau pays.
C'est un très beau pays et j'aime beaucoup la langue française aussi.
Mais pas de détente. Pas de détente personnelle. Mais est-ce que vous avez du temps pour les enfants?
I don't remember the year, but I think it was just about that time when after my mother died. It must have been 35 or so.
I seem to have read that he was not allowed admission either at Harvard or Boston because he was black.
It may be, I don't know.
I read it somewhere.
But I know that he never spoke of it, but his wife did, of this constant being humiliated. And, being asked to a dinner because he was famous and he had such a wonderful voice, and yet being
made to feel
that he wasn't, he was a black.
Well, I felt that myself when I couldn't get a flat in London. That was in 1950s. I thought I should tell them every time, look, I am an Indian, so you might as well tell me whether the flat is taken or not. And Ernest Troller, you met them at the time that you met him at the time that you were studying.
Yes.
Did you meet La Passionaria of?
Yes, I did. Yeah, this was in Paris. The atmosphere at that time was something quite different because we were all in the thick of the struggle for independence. And to go to prison was almost a badge of honor. So I can't say that one liked it, but on the other hand, one resented it when people were not arrested. I mean, I resented it personally till I was old enough to be arrested.
Did you come to meet them, or were they before your time?
They were really before my time, but of course I knew them through their books and through my father talking about them.
And Lasky?
Lasky I knew quite well because he was supposed to be keeping an eye on me when I was there. But the last time we met we quarreled because he felt that I had a life of my own and I was sacrificing it for my father. He was just a sort of father figure, but we saw a great deal of him.
Hovering around.
Well, he was beginning to be old, so he wasn't hovering around, but he was sitting, but he used to take a great interest, especially in the problems of the girl students, so we used to go to him and then he used to come and watch dancing classes. So.
Madam, would like to know, because the youth is very much interested in this. I'm sorry if it sounds like cross-examination. You said you were not a doctrinaire socialist. Could you sort of tell us a little bit more?
Well, people tend to think of whether it's socialism or something else in terms of slogans. A lot of people think that only nationalization or state control means socialism. And perhaps the older version of it did. Now we, in India, I think we are socialists. I mean, we chose that word because it's the nearest to what we want to do. But it doesn't mean that we want to imitate what has happened in,
whatever country.
All the other countries where revolutions have taken place. But we have to take a path which lessens the inequalities amongst our people. It's not just an ideal, it's a very practical necessity for the future of the country. And I think that the interests of even the richest people lies in the stability of the country. And you cannot have stability or harmony or progress unless there is greater equality, when we have such vast masses of poor people.
May I sort of just change the topic? You see, the charge is made that you are pro-Russian.
Because nothing can be done without a great deal of discipline, and especially in a country, a developing country like India, at the stage of development at which we are. But the 20-point program had more than that, because it had certain specific points about helping those who are the very poorest in this country, largely the tribals, and because we had a program of removing the debts of... Well, the International Brigade didn't fail largely because they were disorganized and they were a voluntary sort of body, whereas the others were very well organized.
But I seem to remember a picture of your father, Krishna Menon, actually on almost the front line. But then you went to jail during
after my return in 1942.
So I mean, they passed resolutions that resolved that this house will not fight for king and empire or something like that.
No, because the men and women are kept separate.
I don't know if I got my facts right. I think it was the Soviets who helped to locate the oil first when the others said there was none, was it not?
Soviets, and then we had a lot of help from Romania also.
Romania, of course,
the Romanian experts.
The East European countries. But the others had said there was...
that has nothing to do with the governments, though, because that was the oil company.
Yes, I mean, oil companies and governments are very much the same for certain countries. Am I making a mistake?
Yeah, I think you are talking about Elizabeth Gorba.
Yes, that's
She's
right.
She's German, married to an Indian. Yeah.
Yes.
She taught my children for a very brief while.
Oh, I thought it had... Then you were in Tagore's Shantiniketan. J'espère que vous réussirez. Nous savons que vous allez réussir. Nous sommes tous avec vous, tous ceux qui pensent, tous ceux qui sont contre la pauvreté, contre l'inégalité. Et quand vous retournez à Maurice?
Well, give my very good wishes to the people of Mauritius.
But you have not told us when you're going to come.
I'd be delighted to come one of these days.
Thank you, madam. If it is so, is it pro-Russian government or pro-Russian institutions? And may I ask the same question about China?
Well, I can answer quite categorically that we are not... In a way, we are pro every country because we want friendship with every country, regardless of their system.
I mean, with the peoples you have no quarrel.
No, but even otherwise, as a government, our constant effort is to make friends with as many countries as we possibly can. But we are only pro-India. And our policies are based on what we consider to be in the national interest. Now, the Soviet Union has consistently supported freedom movements, and later on the cause of the non-aligned or the Afro-Asian groups in various international forums. So in that way,
you have certain...
No, I mean they support us rather than we support them. This is what I'm trying to say, that when an issue comes up in United Nations or any other place, they usually support the non-aligned and the Afro-Asian group.
Yes, I mean,
so it's not that we are voting for them, but they're voting for us. Also in India, they were the first to help us with our public sector, that is the state sector. Now, of course, other countries are helping, and even the USA is. But initially, the USA hesitated. And in fact, our talks were with them, but when they refused, then we